So let's begin with mutations and human genetic disorders. So we have discussed about mutation. So mutation is nothing but in biology mutation is an alteration of the nucleotide sequence of a genome of an organism. So mutation actually results from any damages to the DNA or while DNA replication, meiosis or mitosis. So the human genetic disorders occur due to such mutations. So we will be discussing about such type of mutations here. So human genetic disorders is broadly classified into three sessions basically. So the first one is chromosomal disorders and on Mendelian disorders, which is also known as single gene mutations or single gene disorders, and the other one is multifactorial disorders. So in this discussion I will be dealing with chromosomal disorders and single gene disorders. So chromosomal disorders happens due to the absence or excess or abnormal arrangement of chromosome numbers, and this is again divided into two, that is autosomal abnormalities and sex chromosomal abnormalities. Whereas single gene disorders is otherwise popularly known as Mendelian disorders. I think most of you will be familiar with Mendelian, the term Mendelian. So, and this is also again divided, or this happens due to autosomal recessive gene or autosomal dominant gene, or the presence of sex-linked recessive gene and sex-linked dominant gene. So, these are the mutations where this Mendelian disorders occur. Okay. So, let us talk about one by one, that is autosomal abnormalities. We will be discussing about Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome, Patau syndrome and Krydisha syndrome. So, Krydisha syndrome is also known as cat-cry syndrome. So, we will talk about Down syndrome first. Down syndrome is a Mongolian idiopathy, or it is known as the 21 trisomy. So, trisomy of 21, it is known as trisomy of 21. This disease was reported in 1866 by Langton Down, and this is an autosomal aneuploidy where it happens due to the presence of the extra chromosomal number 21. So, where this chromosome pairs actually passes to into a single egg due to this non-disjunction in the process of oogenesis. So, this is how it happens, and you know, for an individual like a normal individual, the number of chromosome is 46, but whereas a person affected with Down syndrome will be having a chromosome number of 47, that is in females it will be 45 plus XS chromosome, and in male it will be 45 plus XY chromosome. And you can easily identify the person affected with Down syndrome.
They're really flat and small fingers and hands they have, and you can see epicameral fold here. This is known as the epicameral fold, so it's also very important. And the chances of getting such babies increases with the age of the mother. And the next syndrome is Edwards syndrome, which is also known as the 18 trisomy or trisomy of 18. This happens due to the presence of an extra chromosome number 18, and since you can see this is a baby girl, right, so the presence or like the more chances of getting such diseases, that is chances of getting Edwards syndrome, is more common in females than males. And you can identify the children by having by noticing their clenched hands. You can see their fingers are overlapped over here, and they'll be having malformed ears, and you can see a very small mouth and small jaw will be present, and they don't have a good neck, that is, it's a very short neck, not a very long normal neck it is, and such children will be mentally retarded, and some can even die like within 6 months of their birth. And the other one is Patau syndrome, which is also known as the 13 trisomy. So this happens due to the presence of an extra chromosome number 30. So this is it's not a very common disease, but you can see such type of children, at least and some of you might have noticed such type of characters in movies, I think. So some of the symptoms, the very important symptom is that they'll be having cleft lip and a cleft palate, so this is the very important one, and they'll be having clenched hands, and again the same as the before, they'll be having malformed ears. Now this is known as the Krydisha syndrome. So Krydisha syndrome is otherwise known as cat-cry syndrome too. So as you can see identify such children by having you know, a certain type of noise which is similar, very much similar to the crying of a cat. That is, they mew. Okay, they mew like a cat, it seems. So hence it got the name Krydisha Syndrome. And this actually occurs due to the deletion of a half part in the short arm of the chromosome number. Now let's see what are the symptoms. So as I said, the main symptom is that they cry like the cat. Okay, so that's a very important symptom. And the face is like a moon-like face. I can say it like that. And the head will be very small, and you can see the eyes. The position of the eyes. This is placed in a wide space. It will be space. The eye is placed widely over here. And let's move on to the next disease. That is, so we'll be talking about the second division of the chromosomal abnormalities due to sex chromosomal abnormalities. Let's see what all the disease happening. So the first one is Turner syndrome, and the other one is Klinefelter syndrome. So I'll be talking about Turner syndrome first. So Turner syndrome, or X chromosomal monosomy, or XO females. So here what happens is this syndrome happens due to monosomy, that is 2n-1. So let's see what it is. So we know that the normal individual will be having 46 chromosomes. But in case of Turner syndrome, the person affected with Turner syndrome will be having 2n, that is 45 chromosome, instead of 46. Okay, so that is like 44 plus XO, that will be the number. So whereas this is in case of female, and where in case of male it will be 44 plus YO, and this is actually an unviable, unviable situation, because this does not occur in nature. And 44 plus XX over here, 1X, okay, that is the XO, that X1X is inactive, or that is the reason why this Turner syndrome happens. You can see there is a loss in second chromosome, so 1X is present, the other one is not present. So this causes Turner syndrome, and you can see in females it will be like they'll be having a webbed neck. See the neck, okay, this is kind of webbed. So that is important symptom. The other symptom, like with Turner syndrome, will be having they will be sterile females, and they'll be having rudimentary ovaries too. And as I mentioned before, they'll be having webbed neck, and their breast is not their breast is not developed, it is underdeveloped, and they'll be having a very small uterus too. And the next one is Klinefelter syndrome, which is known as the X chromosomal trisomy, that is XXY male. Okay, so this is happening due to the trisomy of sex chromosome. So for this, the person affected with Klinefelter syndrome will be having 47 chromosome, that is 44 plus XXY, just like that. So either it can be XX egg plus 1 sperm, or else it can be like XX plus XY sperm. So this is how it happens. And the next one is the symptoms. That is the male will be sterile, and they'll be having underdeveloped testes. So their testis is not matured, and it will be very small too. And talking about their limbs, it's somewhat similar to the females. They'll be having a very long limbs here. So then you can see in this picture, and then it is like they'll be having a breast development. So breast development, or it is it is called Galactosumia. So Galactosumia is the enlargement of breast, and their voice is kind of very much similar to females. So they'll be having a pitched voice too. So finally, you can see mental retardation in some of the people or the other, like affected with this Klinefelter syndrome. And the next one we'll be dealing with single gene mutations and congenital disorders. This is known as the Mendelian disorders. So I'll be only discussing about autosomal recessive gene mutations. So we'll discuss like what all the diseases coming under autosomal recessive gene mutations. So the first one is sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is also called sicklemia. This is a hereditary disease characterized by the abnormal hemoglobin and sickle-shaped RBCs. So here in a normal individual will be having glutamic acid in the position in the 6th position. But over here what happens is that the individuals affected with sickle cell anemia will be having valine instead of glutamic acid in their 6th position. So here the RBCs are crescentic shaped and or sickle shaped. So this is called the sickling of RBCs. And the symptoms will be, they will be having enlarged spleen, and they can get rheumatic complaints, and some of them mental disorders, and the very important is that hypoxia, that is oxygen shortage, and gradually heart failure and renal failure occurs. And the next one is thalassemia. This is also known as the Cooley's anemia or microtemia. This disease, like the thalassemia disease, is very much common in the Mediterranean region. So this is also known as the Mediterranean anemia or Cooley's anemia. This is a genetically inherited disease too, and you can see the affected individual carry high amount of fetal hemoglobin, but they don't produce the required hemoglobin like as of a normal adult. And some of the symptoms, they'll be having severe anemia, then permanent jaundice can occur, and enlarged spleen and liver, and literally swollen belly, and retarded growth. This is a hereditary disease which is associated with the defective lipid metabolism, and the persons with TSD, over here the hexosaminidase A would be deficient or absent in case of such persons, and which causes the accumulation of the complex lipids in the central nervous system and brain. So some of the symptoms are, they'll be having slow and arrested physical development, and they'll be having enlarged head and convulsions, paralysis, and some neuromuscular disorders, and etc. And the next one is Garcia syndrome. So Garcia syndrome is a very rare but chronic congenital disease. This is related to the defective glycolipid metabolism. So here excessive storage of lipoid substances accumulates in the spleen, liver, and bone marrow. This is mainly caused due to the absence of the lysosomal enzyme, which is the glycocerebrosidase. Now some of the symptoms. Here you can see enlargement of spleen takes place, and as well as a liver too, and bone lesions can occur, and abnormal enlargement of some limb bones too. And this disease is very much common, or like it happens frequently to the Ashkenazi Jews. And the next one is some of the biochemical genetics and inborn disorders. So here we can look to Phenylketonuria first. Phenylketonuria is also known as PKU, and this is happening due to the non-production of the liver enzyme, that is phenylalanine hydroxylase. And this occurs when the phenylalanine is not converted to triazine by the liver enzyme. So the accumulation of pyruvic acid in the cerebrospinal fluid, and this ultimately damages the brain cells. Now some of the symptoms are, they'll be having severe mental retardation and idiocy or impaxillity. And now these children will be having a reduced hair. So you can see how the children are having loss of hair. These people are losing hair, and they'll be having poor skin pigmentation, and some can have convulsions, tremors, or something of that kind. Now that is Galactosemia. Galactosemia is a congenital urinary disorder. So the main important thing of this disease is that the accumulation of the homogenistic, that is alkatone, okay, in blood, and it then passes through the urine. So when this alkatone accumulates and this passes through the urine, what happens is that the color of the urine changes to black. So hence Alkatonuria is also known as a black urine disease. So this is a very rare disease. This happens like 1 in a million. Now some of the symptoms, as I said, black urine is one of the main the identification part, and then you can see a large amount of this homogenistic acid deposits in the ear, then the connective tissues like the capillaries, and even the mouth region. Over here you can see the mouth region, and the eyes and all those areas. And this often results in arthritis. And the next one is albinism. Albinism is an inherited disorder associated with the inborn error, like in the metabolism of phenylalanine and triazine. So the children or the persons affected with albinism is known as albinos. So this is due to the non-production of the pigment melanin. So we get black color hair and black color eyes, and also you can see. So it depends, but the absence of melanin is the cause of having a silky hair over here and a very white skin, and they'll be having the eye color will be like blue or pink color. And this is a homozygous condition of the recessive mutant allele, which results in the non-production of the enzyme triacinase. And now you can see some of the symptoms, that is the depigmentation of the eye color, that is skin and even hair too. And they'll be having white skin and white and silky hair too. So I've shown you in the picture below. See, you can see how the hair color, and it's very silky and smooth over here. And then they will be highly sensitive to bright light, that is even they can't even open their eyes like in bright light. And they'll be having a condition called nystagmus. This is the involuntary movement of the eyeballs. So, and their visual activity is really poor, and they'll be having squints too. Now, the Galactosemia. Galactosemia is actually it gets its name from the word itself, that is galactose in the blood. So this is how it happens. Those children affected with this galactosemia will be not able to convert galactose to glucose. Like hence, so when this is not happening, what happens is that gradually galactose compounds, they accumulate in the blood. So, and then it is called the cellular toxins. So, so there will be a question why this galactose is not converting to glucose. Like what is happening? So why this is not happening is because because of the absence of an enzyme which converts galactose to glucose, that is phosphogalactose transferase is absent for such people. So that is the reason for getting galactosemia. So some of the symptoms of galactosemia is that severe vomiting and diarrhea can occur, and the baby turns jaundiced and lethargic in fact, and extreme malnutrition and arrested growth can also occur. And some of the other symptoms is cataract and mental retardation, and ultimately it damages the liver, kidney, and it can be even fatal too. So I think that is the end of the session. So thank you very much for listening.